Hello guys, I welcome you back to my YouTube channel, and today's lesson is based on composite functions. Okay, so suppose you have f of x, a function f of x which is equal to x squared plus x minus 2, and another function g of x which is equal to x plus 3, and you are asked to find f of g of x. Okay, now this is a composite function. So a composite function, which is also known as a function of another function. So as you can see, we are finding a function of another function, which is g of x. Okay, so this is how you go about questions of this nature. All right. So you have f of x equals x squared plus x minus 2, and then g of x equals x plus 3. If you are to find f of g of x, what you have to do is, replace g of x with its function, which is x plus 3. All right. So g of x is x plus 3. So we're just replacing it with its function. Okay. So we know that f of x equals x squared. F of x equals x squared plus x minus 2. Now, if you are to find f of x plus 3, what this implies is that wherever we see x, we replace it with x plus 3. By comparing the terms in the brackets. This is f of x. Comparing the terms in these brackets, the difference is that this is x plus 3 and that this is x. So if you want to find x plus 3, it's simply by replacing the x with x plus 3. So this is going to give us x plus 3 all squared plus x plus 3 then minus 2. Okay, so simplify this. Expanding this gives us x squared plus 6x plus 9. Then plus x, 3 minus 2 is 1, so plus 1. Simplifying this further gives us x squared, 6 plus 1 is 7, so 7x. 9 plus 1 gives us 10, so f of x or f of g of x will give us this as our answer. Okay, so let's say you are given another, like a follow-up question. Let's say to find f of g of 1, or you are done you have done up to this part and you want to know whether your answer is correct or not. So this is how you can verify. Let's just say we are replacing x with 1, so we are finding f of g of 1. Okay, now because this is f of g of x, if we want to find f of g of 1, it's just simply by replacing x with 1. So we get 1 squared plus 7 multiplying 1 and plus 10, which gives us 18. Okay, another way we can also do this is by finding the value of g of 1. I mean the term in this bracket, g of 1. We know g of x to be x plus 3. So if you have to find g of 1, that's going to be 1 plus 3, which is 4. So that means g of 1 is 4. Then we can replace g of 1 with its value, which is 4. So f of g of 1 will now become f of 4. Okay, and then we know that f of x is x squared plus x minus 2. So f of 4 will be 4 squared, replacing x with 4, plus 4 minus 2, which is 16 plus 2 is 18. Now because this gave us the same answer as this, we can conclude that our value is correct. I mean our final answer is correct. Okay, so let us use these ones, I mean f of x, g of x, and then f of g of x, to solve some follow-up questions. So we have f of x to be x squared plus x minus 2. Let's say we are not given g of x. We were not given g of x, but we were given f of g of x to be was x squared plus 7x plus 10. Then we are asked to find g of x. How do you go about it? Okay, so this is it. We are given f of x but not g of x. Okay, now we know f of g of x is the whole of this, right? And then we are giving f of x, but we are not giving g of x. So if you want to find out, how do you go about it? F of x equals x squared plus x minus 2. So f of g of x means, by comparing this x here and then g of x here. So this can also mean that we are just replacing x with the g of x. So we get g of x squared plus g of x then minus 2. Okay, this is f of g of x. But then f of g of x from the question was given as this. Okay, so that means this is the same thing as this one. So we can equate them and then find the value of g of x. That's all. Okay, so let's say, in order to make it a little bit simplified, let's make g of x represent a variable, let's say a. So let g of x equals a. So this whole expression will now be a squared plus a minus 2. And then it is equal to this expression over here, which is x squared plus 7x plus 10. So we have to solve for the value of a. So we can do that using the method of completing square. So we have to move this to the other side. So we get a squared plus a equals, that will be x squared plus 7x. 2 crosses the equal sign to become a plus 2 over here, which makes this one 12. So we get this. Okay, so method of completing square. A squared plus a. The coefficient of a over here is just 1. We multiply it by half, which is half. Then we add the square of half to both sides. So we get x squared plus 7x plus 12 plus half all squared. Okay, so the method of completing squares implies that this whole expression over here is the same thing as a plus half all squared. If you expand this is exactly the same thing that you get. Equals, it becomes x squared plus 7x. Half squared is 1 over 4. So we get 12 plus 1 over 4. A plus half all squared will be equal to x squared plus 7x. 12 plus 1 over 4. 4 times 12 is 48 plus 1 is 49. So we get 49 on 4. Okay, now we can square root both sides. Now in this case, you are not actually looking for any plus or minus roots, so we just take the positive roots, and that's all. Square root of x squared plus 7x. Now we can see that 49 over 4, 49 over 4 is the same thing as 7 over 2 all squared, right? Okay, so we can represent the 49 over 4 as 7 over 2 all squared. Okay, so a plus half will be equal to, comparing this, you can see it's in the same form as this one right here. Okay, this is in the same form. So this reducing to this implies that this one too can also be reduced to this x plus 7 over 2 all squared. I mean, this is the same thing as this. Expanding this will also give you the same thing as this. Then the square gets rid of the square root, so we get a plus half. A plus half equals x plus 7 over 2. We want to find a, so a will be equal to x plus 7 on 2 minus half, which is x plus 6 on 2, and then a will be equal to x plus 3. But what was a? A is equal to g of x. So this implies that our g of x will be equal to x plus 3, just as we have our g of x to be x plus 3 from the onset. Okay, so yeah, that is how we'll be able to find the value of g of x. Okay, so let's turn it the other way around. Let's say in this case you are given g of x plus 3. You are not given f of x, but you are given f of g of x, which is x squared plus 7s plus 10. You have to find f of x. What do you do? Okay, so the same way, f of g of x, we have g of x to be x plus 3, right? So replacing g of x with its expression, which is x plus 3, will be f of x plus 3. So this turns to this. Alright, so f of x plus 3 is g of x. So is f of g of x rather, sorry. So f of g of x is now f of x plus 3, and then it will be equal to x squared plus 7x plus 10. So this is it. So it's from this one that we are finding the f of x. Okay, so if you remember in one of my videos on the functions and relations, we solved a question of this nature, right? So we have f of x plus 3 equals x squared plus 7x plus 10. We have to find f of x, right? Now, just as in my previous video, we rewrite the whole of this expression in terms of x plus 3. So we manipulate this x into x plus 3. So we get x plus 3 minus 3 all squared. I mean, x can be the same thing as x plus 3 minus 3. We just want to get the x plus 3 from x, okay? So this x squared will now be this plus 7 multiplying x plus 3 minus 3 all squared, then plus 10. Okay. Alright, so that means f of x, comparing this, here is x plus 3, here is x. So if you want to find f of x, just replace the x plus 3 with an x, that's all. So get x minus 3 all squared plus 7 x minus 3. There's no square here. I quite remember in my previous video too, I indicated the square here. I don't know, but there's no square there. So yeah, so this is x squared minus 6x plus 9 plus 7x minus 21 plus 10. So we get x squared minus 6 plus 7 is positive 1, so positive x. 9 minus 21 is 12. Negative 12. Negative 12 plus 10 is minus 2. Okay. Yeah. So we get our f of x to be equal to x squared plus x minus 2, which is the same thing as what we had at the onset. Okay. So that is it. Now, another way you can also go about finding f of x is this. We know that, up to this part, you know that f of x plus 3 is x squared plus 7x plus 10. We want to find f of x, right? Now, another way you can go about it is finding either a variable or a number or an expression which, when we add to x plus 3, we will get x. So that number is represented by a. So we want a number which, when added to the whole of x plus 3, will give us x. So they cancel out, then we get a to be minus 3, right? So that means if you had to, add 3 to x plus minus 3 to x plus 3, we get x. Okay, so let's just say f of x plus 3 is a. So we get f of a to be equal to a squared plus 7a plus 10. Okay, now this whole expression is representing f of x plus 3, but the x has been represented with an a. The x plus 3 has been represented with an a. So if you have to subtract 3 from a, we get a minus 3, right? So by comparing a and then a minus 3, if you want to find f of a minus 3, just represent each of the a's with an a minus 3. So we get this squared 7a minus 3, then plus 10, which is the same thing as this. The only difference is that this is x and then this one is a. So expanding it gives us a squared plus a, then minus 2. Okay, but then the a plus 3, this is f of a plus 3, but then f of a minus 3, but then a minus 3 is representing x, right? So that means we can represent the a minus 3 with the x, and then it gives us x squared plus x minus 2, which is also very acceptable. Okay, so yeah, this is the end of my video. Please do to like, subscribe, and comment for more videos. Okay, so thank you for watching. See you in my next video. Bye.